Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. When the school turns off the indoor lights, there is a crisis that is little talked about, but which is silently shaping the destiny of millions of children around the world. This is not an economic crisis, nor even a health crisis. It's a crisis of the imagination, a profound impoverishment of this mysterious force called creativity. In a world where everything is accelerating, where machines replace human gestures, where algorithms predict our choices, the free spirit becomes a rare commodity. And yet, it is on him that our ability to dream, to innovate, to love, to live depends. Modernity has built powerful tools, efficient systems, productivity models. But at what cost? In this frantic race for efficiency, we have lost the very essence of childhood, natural curiosity, wonder, spontaneous invention. Where there were colored pencils, we put binders. Where there were wooden cabins, standardized exercises were imposed. The school, however, had to be a sanctuary. A place where minds open, where talents flourish, where each voice finds its rhythm. But today, a question arises, brutal and disturbing. Why does school, a place supposed to awaken the mind, sometimes seem to put it to sleep? Before starting this video, don't forget to like this video, because it gives us a lot of strength to continue sharing beneficial content. And I invite you to subscribe to our channel and activate the notification bell to stay informed of our next publications on the Islamic faith. Thank you and good video. Why do so many bright children become silent? Why do so many young talents end up believing that they are not good enough, simply because they don't fit into a box? What if it wasn't them who were the problem, but the mold we were trying to fit them into? This is not an indictment of teachers, quite the contrary. Many fight with courage and passion to keep this fragile flame alive. But it is a cry, a call to rethink a system. Because behind each student, there is an inner treasure, a unique way of thinking, feeling, creating. And this treasure only asks for one thing: to be given permission to exist. The birth of a genius. Each child comes into the world with new eyes, a virgin soul, a heart ready to dream. Before he can even speak, he creates. He plays with sounds, shapes, gestures. He invents languages. He transforms a simple box into a space shuttle, a sheet into a castle, a piece of wood into a magic sword. The child does not copy reality. He reinvents it. He doesn't ask permission to draw a blue sun or a flying cow. He does it because he still lives in a world where everything is possible. Creativity in children is not a luxury. It is a vital instinct, a natural breath, a way of inhabiting the world without reducing it to its rigid rules. All children are artists. The problem is remaining an artist when they grow up. This phrase from Picasso is not a simple joke. It is a bittersweet tragedy. Because what Picasso knew is that society educates, but often forgets to preserve this sacred fire of the imagination. In every classroom, in every home, there is a little genius sleeping. Not an academic genius, but a vibrant, curious, inventive being. Creative intelligence is not measurable by grades or tests. It lives in the momentum of someone who dares to ask a question that no one has yet formulated. It manifests itself in the dreamy silences, in the drawings scribbled in the margins, in the stories that the child tells himself. But one day, quietly, something goes out. We start telling him how to do it. What you should not draw, what you must write, how you must think. Standards take the place of dreams. Errors become mistakes. Wonder becomes a distraction. When did we stop finger painting? When did we stop believing that a tree can be purple, that a cloud can have a first name? And above all, who convinced us that imagination was no longer useful? It's time to reopen that door. Because behind the silences of today's children lies the world of tomorrow. A world that they would be capable of inventing if only we still gave them the right to dream. The standardized school system. School as we know it today is a direct legacy of a bygone era, that of the Industrial Revolution. Designed to meet the needs of factories, administrations, and vertical hierarchies, it was designed not to free minds, but to align them. Strict schedules, silent obedience, ranking by performance. So many mechanisms inspired more by the world of the production chain than that of human development. In this logic, we don't celebrate difference, we correct it. We standardize. We classify. We sort. Children become files, numbers, averages. Those who think differently, who dream out loud or who learn on the move, are quickly redirected to boxes where their inner fire slowly burns out. The very structure of the disciplines reveals this implicit hierarchy. At the top, mathematics, physics, economics, the so-called serious subjects. Down, art, music, dance, relegated to the rank of leisure, as if painting, composing or creating were not forms of intelligence as noble as solving an equation. This organization imposes a subtle but violent message. Certain talents are worth more than others. And yet, how many atypical geniuses have been considered average students? How many brilliant young minds have been broken by a system that failed to recognize them? The school does not lack content. She lacks flexibility, poetry, listening. It was built to produce useful citizens, not free souls. We are told that it prepares us for life. But what life? A life of repetition? A life where we join the ranks without asking questions? Then comes the question, the disturbing one. Are we preparing humans or products? The child is not a piece to be molded. There is a world to discover. And if education does not adapt to the richness of each mind, it does not form, it formats. It does not reveal, it fills. It doesn't make you grow, it shrinks. It is not one more reform that we need. It's a change of perspective. What if intelligence took on 1,000 faces, 1,000 languages, 1,000 paths? The weight of failure. From a very young age, we learn to fear making mistakes. A spelling mistake, an inaccurate answer, different reasoning, and that's the sanction. A bad grade, a remark, a frown. Eventually, the child understands the message. To be wrong is bad. It doesn't matter whether the intention was noble, whether the effort was sincere. Only the result counts. But in this binary vision of good and bad, failure becomes a burden. It is no longer experienced as learning, but as an injury to self-esteem. Every mistake erodes trust. Every hesitation becomes a threat. And gradually, the child, once spontaneous and curious, begins to be silent, to doubt, to fade away. However, creativity is never born in fear. It arises from play, from daring, from exploration. She lives in clumsy attempts, in shaky improvisations, in strange ideas that don't fit into any framework. The invention does not follow a program. She takes detours, she fails, she starts again. But how do you create when everything in you fears doing it wrong? School, without wanting to, punishes the senior. A child who thinks differently is often seen as disruptive. Anyone who suggests another way is ignored. We value the expected answer, not the original question. The student then learns to guess what is expected of him. He becomes a compliance strategist instead of a truth seeker. Yet, a child who is not afraid of making mistakes invents, dreams, creates. It is this carefreeness, this freedom to dare without guarantee, which allows discoveries. Edison failed 1,000 times before creating the light bulb. Mozart broke the musical rules of his time. And every great mind, before succeeding, has often failed more than all the others combined. But what do? We put up walls of red on their notebooks. We count their errors as we count mistakes. And without realizing it, we turn off the light they were trying to turn on. It is time to reconsider failure not as a punishment, but as proof of movement, attempt, life. Because where there is error, there is research. And where there is research, there is already the beginning of creation. Our intelligence in all its forms, it has long been believed that intelligence could be measured with an IQ test or a quarterly average, as if the wealth of a mind could be summed up in a number. However, life itself demonstrates the opposite every day. Some understand equations. Others experience emotions like landscapes. Some have a genius for words, others for gestures. Intelligence is plural, living, vibrant. The American psychologist Howard Gardner revolutionized our understanding of the human mind with its theory of multiple intelligences. According to him, there is not a single form of intelligence, but at least 8. Linguistic, logical, mathematical, corporeal, musical, spatial, naturalistic, interpersonal, and intrapersonal. So why does our school continue to reward only 2 or 3 of them? How many children sensitive to music, dance, nature are ignored? How many deeply empathetic beings endowed with rare emotional intelligence find themselves treated as average because they do not shine on a sheet of paper? Intelligence is not limited to what is seen in a control. It reveals itself in what vibrates, what connects, what touches. There is this little boy who can't sit still, not because he is distracted, but because his body thinks in movement. There is this young girl who understands everything with a look, who captures the atmosphere of a room, who knows how to console without words. There is this silent child who draws worlds that no one has ever dreamed of. And yet, in the current system, they will all be reduced to one average, to a bulletin, to a carte. Side note, their talents will also remain on the margins. So, what if we noted empathy, intuition, movement, inspiration? What if we taught to understand silence, to feel a forest, to listen to an inner melody? What if we allowed each child to excel in their own language, in their own genius? It is not the intelligence of children that should be questioned. This is our way of recognizing it. Every human being has knowledge that just needs to be honored. We still need to agree to look beyond the columns and evaluation tables. Testimonials and notable examples. Once upon a time, there was a little girl who never sat still at school. She dreamed, danced in her chair, looked out the window when people talked to her about fractions. The teachers were worried. She had difficulty concentrating. She moved too much. She did not fit into the frame. His parents took him to see a specialist. After a few minutes of observation, he suggested leaving her alone in the room. Before leaving the room, he discreetly turned on a radio. What he saw next was life-changing. The little girl got up and started dancing. Not clumsily, but with grace, intensity, spontaneity. The doctor turned to the mother and said, "Madam, your daughter is not ill. She's a dancer. Put her in a dance school." This child was Gillian Lynne, who would become one of the greatest choreographers of the 20th century, at the origin of world-famous musicals like Cats and the Phantom of the Opera. If she had been treated according to traditional school standards, there would have been attempts to silence her, to calm her down, to adapt it. Perhaps we would have extinguished this inner fire. She is not alone. Albert Einstein was a mediocre student, slow to speak, dreamy. His teachers considered him lazy, incapable of following instructions. He didn't fit any mold. And yet, it is in his strange view of the world that the theory of relativity was born. Thomas Edison, inventor of the light bulb, was described as stupid by his teachers. He didn't find his place in the system. But it was by leaving this system that he revolutionized light itself. How many others haven't had this chance? How many exceptional talents have been stifled because they did not express themselves in the right boxes? How many silent Mozarts in our classrooms? How many luminous spirits are believed to be extinct simply because their light is different? It's not the children we need to change. These are our looks. Because each being contains a form of genius which only asks to be recognized. But for that, you have to know how to listen differently. See beyond appearances, believing in what the child does not yet have the words to express. Towards an education of life. What if there was another way? A way of educating which does not seek to fill the child, but to awaken. All over the world, voices are being raised, alternatives are emerging. They don't scream, they observe, they listen. They give back to the child what has too often been taken away from him, the right to be himself. The Montessori schools are a shining example. They do not seek to impose knowledge, but to create an environment where the child can experiment, manipulate, choose. The error is not a fault, but a natural step in the process. Autonomy is cultivated from an early age. Respecting each person's rhythm is sacred. The Finland, she has rethought the very heart of its education system. Fewer class hours, more breaks, no ranking between students, very little homework. And yet, its results are among the best in the world. For what? Because there, we consider that development precedes performance. Because the child's happiness is taken seriously. Other pedagogies, called active, like Freinet or Steiner, encourage cooperation rather than competition. They promote creativity, observation of the world, awareness of living things. They teach how to cultivate a garden, listen to silence, build a cabin before solving an equation. What all of these approaches have in common is a radical change of posture. The adult no longer becomes the one who imposes, but the one who accompanies. He does not dictate a program, he walks alongside a growing being. He doesn't evaluate a note, he reveals a face. We do not need to train performers. We need to raise awareness, to sow seeds of enthusiasm, confidence, curiosity. Because it is not by obeying that we build a better world, but by daring to think differently. So let's ask this simple, essential question, perhaps the only one that really matters. How do you help a child discover himself? The answer doesn't fit in a textbook. It lies in listening, in looking, in the time we take to see who he is, and not who we would like him to become. Conclusion, open and powerful. There is a light in every human being, a unique spark that illuminates his first steps, his first thoughts, his first creations. This light is the creativity, and it is not a luxury. She is a faith in life, in that it can offer more beautiful, greater, more unexpected things. Throughout the centuries, she has built bridges, painted masterpieces, written symphonies, invented worlds. But she is fragile, and when we turn it off, a part of our humanity is erased. We are at a turning point. We have the opportunity, not to reform a system, but to transform it. To move from a fixed model, inherited from the past, to a living education, looking to the future. An education that respects singularities, that nurtures talents, that believes in the child even before he believes in himself. It is a call for each of us. Teachers, parents, decision makers, citizens. We have a responsibility, that of protect this light in us and around us, to protect it from uniformity, fear, conformism, to give it the space to grow, flourish, shine. Every child is a promise of invention, renewal, beauty. You just have to reach out to him, offer him the soil to grow, and have the courage to let him become what he is. Because in him, there is perhaps the next Mozart, the next Einstein, or simply a soul who will make the world a better place. What if we chose to believe again? to believe in the poetry of simple things, in the magic of new ideas, in the strength of those who dare. Because deep down, the child who dares to dream will save the world that we have forgotten to imagine.